It's Friday, folks. You know what that means. It's time for another quick queries video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to answer that age-old question, what's the maximum number of simultaneous users that Microsoft Access can handle? I get asked that one all the time. Plus, your answers to your YouTube comments and lots more. I get asked one variation of this or another every now and then. This one's from Darcy by email. Darcy says, I've been slowly building this Access database over the past couple of years, and more people around the office are starting to use it. We're up to about 10 or 15 people now, and my boss just asked me, how many people can use this thing at once before it explodes? Is there an actual hard limit, or are we just pushing our luck here? Well, technically, Microsoft says that an Access database using just an Access shared backend on a network drive can support up to 255 concurrent connections. That is the hard-coded limit built into the database engine, but that's the purely theoretical number. In the real world, things don't really work that way. You're going to start to bog down well before that. Realistically, I'd say a good limit is about 10 to 20 active simultaneous users. Now, what does active mean? Well, constantly reading and writing data, like, looking up stuff, running queries, entering information, 10 to 20 people using it. And of course, this depends on your network speed. I'm assuming your network's up to par. You've got proper cabling, proper hub, proper switches. There's no problems with your network speed. All right, this is just the database we're talking about here. And this also assumes that your database is properly designed, right? You've got all your queries optimized, everything's indexed properly, all that stuff. Now, in my consulting career, I have personally set up systems that were used by 50 or so workstations, but not all of those were active users throughout the day, right? Not everybody was constantly hammering at the database. The warehouse guy might occasionally look a product up, check inventory. The salespeople might enter an order here and there, and so on. So it wasn't like 50 people were constantly on the database. They might all be logged in throughout the day, but the actual number of concurrent users was probably 10, 15, maybe 20 people. Of course, make sure that your database is split properly. If not, go watch this video. Every user should have their own copy of the front end that links to a shared backend. Most of the time when I have people email me saying they're having problems with concurrent users, it's because they've got everybody sharing the same database file. They just take the Access database file, one file with the front end and the back end together, not split. They put it up on the server, and then everybody is working off of that one file. And it'll work for a little while, but you can very easily corrupt the database that way, and it's going to run really slow. So every user needs to have their own copy of the front end that's connected to the back end. And of course, if you do outgrow this limit, the next step is to keep your Access front end and then just move the data tables to SQL Server. So you don't have to get rid of all the work you've already done. Keep that Access database, that's great, but then you're just going to put the tables and all the data in SQL Server. There's SQL Server Express, which is the free edition, and that allows databases up to like 10 gigabytes in size, so much larger than Access does, even the free version of SQL Server. It doesn't really have a specific user limit, but it can handle a lot more than Access does. And if you even outgrow that, there's paid versions of SQL Server, standard enterprise editions that you can scale up to thousands of concurrent users. So the benefit of working with Access and to putting your eggs in the Access basket is that you really will never outgrow it. You can always use that Access front end and just connect it to a proper database engine. I've got a seminar available online that teaches you how to connect to an online version of SQL Server. And this is handy if you have people in different remote locations. So you could put your data in SQL Server on the web, and then people with your Access front end can connect to it from different locations. I've got a regular SQL Server, a local on-premises based course coming out soon. So check my website for more information on that. So the shorter answer is Access, officially 255 users. In practice, 10 to 20 users who are actively using the database. Any more than that, SQL Server. Okay? Okay, but you'll never outgrow Access, no matter how big you are. You can always connect to a database server. All right, great question. All right, let's head over to the YouTubes. First up, a comment on my fitness database, part 37. And by the way, thanks for all of you who posted comments saying that the people who aren't watching this are missing out, because you are. The fitness database is an awesome series. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Lots of cool tips and tricks. Mubarak posted FDT question mark. Seriously, though. I knew someone was going to say something, and I didn't realize it as I was writing the code. I was thinking it's a variable for food date time. Food date time. That's all I was thinking. No other ulterior motives. If you don't get it, Google it. But that was not my intention. When I usually make short variable names like that all the time. So that was nothing that I was trying to be like silly. Okay. All right. Next up, Hamid says, I really enjoy your Access tutorials. Trying to integrate a webcam into an Access application, and I'm struggling to figure it out. Could you please share your advice or suggest the most effective method for using a webcam with an Access? I tried a few years ago. In fact, I put a template online. Here it is. Yeah, 4 years ago. And I got it to work. There's me. There's the webcam template inside of Access. You could take still shots with it and stuff. It's not great. I had some, issues getting it to work. So feel free to download it and try it and see if it works for you. It does involve, if memory serves, using a third-party plugin, because Access doesn't do this natively by itself. But check it out, see if you like it. If you want me to do more and do like a tutorial on how I put it together, then let me know. You'll find a link in the links section down below the video, or just go to my website and search for webcam, one word. And yes, I'll bet someone in the last 4 years has probably come up with something better. I haven't researched it since then, because it's not really something that I need to do, and not a lot of people have asked me about it. But if anybody out there has a better solution, post a comment down below. Let me know. I'll check it out. All right, here comes another popular question. I get this one all the time, and yes, I repeat myself sometimes. I know I've talked about this in previous videos, but it's worth repeating. You describe in your lessons that you use an index field, probably means an auto number, as the primary key. And I want it to increment, because if I add a record and change my mind and press escape, this number will not increment, but jump one number. Okay, so I get what you're saying. You're adding records. You've got record 1, record 2, record 3. You're editing record 3, and you decide, I don't want it. You hit escape. That cancels that one. Now the next one you add is record 4. Okay, so you're missing a 3. That's fine. Right? Those auto numbers are not for you. You should not care what those auto numbers are. In fact, I got a whole video about it. Here's the video. Go watch it. Those auto numbers are not for your use. They're for the database, so that it can track unique records and make relationships between them. You shouldn't care what those numbers are. In fact, in most of my finished production databases, I don't even show the auto numbers, because I include them in my teaching databases, because I want developers to see them and to get used to what they are, but they're not to be used as counters. All right, if you want a sequential numbering system for either customers or invoices or anything, make your own. You can create your own calculated field and calculate those sequential numbers on your own. Then the auto numbers don't matter, and we're not going to use those sequential numbers for forming relationships. Okay, so go watch both of those videos, and it will explain in detail. And go watch my Access Beginner 1 class too, because I hammer this point in that as well. All right, my free Access Beginner 1 course, 4 hours long, teaches you all the basics, including that auto numbers are for internal purposes only. When you're filling out a form, like at the doctor, and it says, don't write below this line, it's for internal use only. It's for the doctor and the nurses and their staff. Well, that's what auto numbers are. They're for internal use only. They're not for you. You should not care what they are. Okay, I feel like every couple months I gotta hammer this point across. All right, here's a good question about the fitness database, and I'm only going to talk about fitness questions in the quick queries videos if they pertain to all databases in general. This is a pretty general question. Brooks says, I noticed the fields for protein, fat, carbohydrates, etc. are defaulted to long integer as the field size. Yep. Since we're not going to use these fields in calculations, wait, why would we not use these fields in calculations? We definitely will. I want to know how much protein I've had over the course of a day, right? I want to know how many carbohydrates, maybe, or fat grams I've had. So we will definitely be using these fields in calculations. Oh, someone's beaming in. So I would not save those as short text. They're basic numbers, and I will be using those in calculations. And if it's decided further into our development to use these fields in calculations, which we will, shouldn't we define them as number integer of number single? What is considered the best practice? Okay, so what I teach people, especially my beginner students, is there's really only two kinds of numbers in Access you should worry about. There's long integer and there's double. Forget everything else exists. All right, if you look at a number down here, the field sizes, right? You got byte, integer, long integer. And those are all the counting numbers, right? Long integer handles everything up to like 32 billion, which is fine for all the counting numbers you're going to deal with in regular life. Now, integer and byte are smaller, and you could use those if you want to. Like if you know your number is never going to be larger than 100, sure, use a byte. It goes up to 255. Integer up to like 32,000. Okay, sure, if you can. But you know what? Those are for very, very large databases, and they're really from a time when hard drive space was expensive, right? So we had to make sure that we got the most we could out of every single byte in the computer. But today, for most databases, just worry about long integer. Just use that. Okay? Everything else will fit into it. If space becomes a problem, when you get a little more advanced, then yeah, you can go in and tweak your tables and, shrink stuff down you don't need. Okay? But as far as beginners are concerned, long integer is the only counting type number you need. Now, if you need floating points, if you need stuff after the decimal point, use double. Yeah, single will save you some space. Yeah, decimal has some other advanced precision type stuff you can set, but double's the only one to worry about. Okay, so from a beginner standpoint, and even for most intermediate use, either long integer or double. In fact, I've had this on my list to make a specific video just about this topic. I talk about it briefly in my beginner course, but just worry about those. Long integer is the default, and if you need floating point, if you need to store decimals, use double. Now, going back to your question, though, I picked long integer because protein, fat, carbohydrates, even calories, I only care about precision to the whole number, right? I care if it's 19 grams of protein. I don't care if it's 19.2 grams. I don't need that much precision in my fitness database, right? If I was doing like a Mars rover and I had to track fuel levels or something like that, sure, I might want a double to get more precision. But as far as this goes, no. I don't care if it's 8.6 or 8.7 grams of fat, right? 8 grams, or in that case, 9 grams is plenty, right? So there's best practice, and there's what I think is the best practice, especially for beginners and intermediate level developers, right? Long integer or double. And in this case, I think long integer is the best thing to do. And yes, we will be using it for calculations. We already are, in fact. I see you're only on fitness level 2. By the time we get up to like level 30 or so, we're building a log to track what we eat all day long, right? And so you want to add up all the protein you've had and all the calories you've had for the day. So we're definitely doing calculations on them. All right, so excellent question. Thank you very much, Brooke. And with that, that's going to do it for another quick queries. I hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button right now and give me a like. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. And make sure you click that bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever I post a new video. Do you need help with your Microsoft Access project? Whether you need a tutor, a consultant, or a developer to build something for you, check out my Access Developer Network. It's a directory I put together personally of Access experts who can help with your project. Visit my website to learn more. Any links or other resources that I mentioned in the video can be found in the description text below the video. Just click on that Show More link right there. YouTube's pretty good about hiding that, but it's there. Just look for it. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, tables, all that stuff. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? And if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. That's it. And it's free for members of my YouTube channel at any level. Speaking of memberships, if you're interested in joining my channel, you get all kinds of awesome perks. Silver members get access to all of my extended cut TechHelp videos, and there's hundreds of them by now. They also get one free beginner class each month, and yes, those are for my full courses. Gold members get the previous perks plus access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my TechHelp videos. Plus, you get access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions and all kinds of source code that I use. And Gold members get one free expert class every month after completing the beginner series. Platinum members get all of the previous perks, plus they get all of my beginner courses, all of them from every subject, and you get one free advanced or developer class every month after finishing the expert series. And you can become a diamond sponsor and have your name listed on the sponsor page on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time.